Welcome back to another episode of Autodidactica. I am your host, Darth Glenn, and this is your
I'm
other host.
uh, Jedi Master Matt Paul.
Yeah, we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight to the
Yeah,
death. Probably
yeah.
not to the death. We're gonna talk
Well,
about death.
there may be life after death.
There may be. Who knows? Who knows? We'll get to that. That's our topic this week. Last week our topic was ethics and suicide. So if you
Heavy
missed,
topic.
yeah, that was a very heavy topic, and I really, I feel like we covered it very well. Um, so if you missed that one, you can check it out. It's on it's on the list where you find our podcast or our YouTubes. That's that's the title, ethics and suicide. But yeah, this week, before we get into that topic, I feel like this is another heavy topic. I like doing heavy topics. Like when we were doing our brainstorming session, like all my topics were so heavy or like
Yeah,
hot topic kind of things. I like it. Um
the topics that get us in trouble
yeah,
if we were
seriously.
figureheads for
Right,
anything.
right. And I think scandal's okay, controversy's okay, as long as, I think things should be talked about. The things that people are afraid to talk about honestly, I think should be talked about honestly, like suicide. It's not,
Yeah,
you can't find a good spot, a good time or place to have that let's talk about it. Is it ever okay kind of thing. And
and we don't
so,
do that here at Autodidactica. We don't do that.
no,
We
never.
dive right in.
Yeah, yeah,
This is the place.
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So, if you want to have an honest conversation about something, this is where you want to be. Um, before we get into that, so how's life? How are things? What's new?
Oh, things are good. Christmas is right around the corner at the time of recording this, so malls are crazy, roads are crazy. Um, Online shipping, if you haven't ordered your things yet, they will not get here.
Mm,
That kind of thing. And, as a man, I have not even started my Christmas shopping, so that poses several issues.
same, and all of mine was supposed to be done online, and you just added to my anxiety by
Yeah, you're gonna have to find similar things offline,
or just
basically,
tell
or give
people
everybody IOUs. Yeah,
it's in the mail,
coupons.
which I hate to
Um,
do.
yeah,
Mm,
but yeah, no, I got tattooed again
right?
uh, yesterday. Today's
Uh-huh.
Monday, so yeah, yesterday. Um, got a lot of
Oh,
stuff done.
oh yeah. If you're watching us
If
on
you're watching
YouTube,
us, I am waving it around. It hurt very
there it
badly.
is. There
Most
it
painful
is.
tattoo.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
yeah, but it's done. The whole sleeve is done now. So artist is about to move to New York. Got it done right in time.
Mhm.
And that's my life in a nutshell, basically, as of late. What about you?
Me? I don't know. I mean, I'm dressed like Darth Sidious. That's new, but it's cold. And I got this new hoodie at work, and it's so comfortable and warm. And I didn't feel like doing my hair or anything. So here I
Cheers.
am. Here I am showing up to the podcast dressed in my best, alcoholic father fashion.
You look like you're
Like
about to
this.
throw down some sick rhymes at the local rap battle.
I am. That would be great to see Darth Sidious do that.
You can. It's called it's like
Oh,
oh, it was
epic.
on Robot Chicken.
Is
No, it was
it?
on Robot Chicken. Yeah.
Is it? I was thinking epic rap battles of history and wondering if they did one with Darth Sidious.
Yeah,
But
they
Robot
may have,
Chicken,
but yeah,
I love Robot Chicken.
they did a rap battle, or I think it may have just been a diss competition between Luke and
Oh, right.
Luke and Sidious on the second Death Star.
Which
But yeah,
usually take the form of rap battles. Rap battles are usually diss battles.
mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know. Diss battles don't have to be raps though. It's like
Truth, truth.
a square is a rectangle, but rectangle's not a square.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. I follow. I follow Lord Vader.
Yeah, until you
um,
get thrown off a ledge,
right. Yeah, he
and
gets
then
better. He gets
and then
better.
yeah, he gets better. He's fine.
Somehow Palpatine came back. We don't know
Yeah, so
how, but somehow,
he
somehow
lived.
he got better. Um,
But yeah, so
um,
do we turn
oh,
into Force ghosts?
I don't know. Like, I just, I don't know. It could be like even Star Wars doesn't know if
Yeah,
there's an
they don't know.
afterlife, but
They're still figuring it out.
like, yeah, like, well, I mean, no, they know if there's an afterlife. They just don't know how ghosts work necessarily. Like, we're still learning things. Um, but like, what was it I was gonna say about my day before we segue? Segue. I never know how we're gonna segue.
Yeah, no,
Because we almost did it, but I'm like, wait, but there's something I was gonna say.
that's true.
I
You
don't remember.
sidetracked me.
I know it's true. It's
I'm just
true.
always on the hunt for a good segue.
Oh, true. True. Like we don't really have to hunt for them, at least in my experience. They just kind of fall out of our mouths.
Yeah, but I did sort of cut off your "How was your day?" because you served me
True.
up an excellent segue.
True, true. It's what I do.
So, how was your day?
Oh, it was crap. It was crap, man. What it was just one of those days where I woke up and everything was going wrong. Like my tires were almost flat, couldn't find any place to get air. Um, and then work was a mess. It was just a mess, and it was nobody's fault who was having to clean up said mess, but the mess did have to be dealt with. Um, just as far as stuff people hadn't done in 2 weeks or whatever, like that had to be done. And then there was the days stuff, and I don't know, it was just crazy. It was crazy. No, I'm crazy. So it was like freaking, I don't know. Like maybe this is a segue. It's kind of a dark ass segue, but I'm
Good
Darth
God.
Sidious. You're like, oh God, do you want me to not to?
No, go for it.
For
All in.
but I'm trying to remember if there's because I'm a little bit nuts right now, but bear with me because I'm still kind of here. I really should be, like on my YouTube channel, I do this series called I Can't Sleep. Like I feel like my mental state is far more suited to doing one of those videos right now where I just ramble about crap, but I think that my rambling would go in the direction, but so were I to be doing an I can't sleep video, I would tell you all about um how I got triggered today nonstop, like with the oh I have to keep my company logo covered up on this hoodie because I'm not supposed to put my company in anything like YouTube videos or whatever. That's why I'm wearing this like shawl looking thing because I didn't want to take off the hoodie. Yeah, see, this is very I can't sleep mindset. But like, okay, so I've been through some crap in recent years, so I get triggered and bad things happen to my mental state. And like today, first of all, I mean it's the overwhelming everything is going wrong and we have to fix it crap. Like people are keep throwing balls at me and I've only got one bat. So when I get overwhelmed, that kind of makes everything snowball. But like, I don't remember when it happened, but something at work uh, put me back in remembering the day that my mother died, and that's one of the worst triggers I have because it's like and I hate like I do it because it's educational, but I hate saying PTSD, but that's what it is, and that's how it works. Because I feel like a lot of people use that as a crutch, and it's maybe not really. I feel like it's overdiagnosed, maybe, but
Or
like
just over self-diagnosed.
right, over self-diagnosed. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Or used as a crutch, and I try not to use mine as a crutch. It's just I acknowledge when there's an issue. and I try to fight through it. But like, so what happens is when that memory gets triggered, I'm there. I'm in that day. Like I can't stop. It just loops. Like watching mom die, all that stuff. And it was a horrible, horrible day. Um, so that was happening, and I'm trying to fight off those invasive thoughts, those memories while doing work at my day job, and it's really hard. And then on top of that, everyone's talking about Christmas and crap and the holidays, and holidays are another bad trigger for me. Like again, like I can't sleep, stream of consciousness. Like the last time I tried to kill myself, back to like last week's topic, we're just so happy here at Autodidactica.
The happiest.
All the uplifting things you can. So the last time I tried to kill myself, it was like right after the 4th of July. It was also, I think, the day that I sold my house, which I didn't want to do. Um, and but I was already going in a bad direction because of the 4th of July. It's like just holidays mess me up because I effectively don't really have a blood family anymore here in Dallas. Like everybody's either dead or gone, like just moved away. And like Christmas is probably like if the 4th of July hit me that bad, where it's like I'm just kind of like alone and not really celebrating, and everybody else is celebrating, or it just kind of, I can't get it out of my head. And this is a segue, I promise. I see it. I'm gonna let you talk. I'm not just gonna ramble for an hour. But yeah, so like Christmas, is everybody's talking about Christmas. There's Christmas music playing at one of the workstations. One guy is always playing Christmas music. We have a white elephant coming up in 2 days, just the guys. Um, and like there's Christmas cookies all over the place that I can't eat because I'm vegan, but that's another matter altogether. But like, so that is starting to eat at my head because I'm just anticipating Christmas and hating it because I mean like I have a couple people who, if they come to town, all they do is bitch about being in town. And one of them adds to that how much they hate Christmas. And I'm just like, well, what are you doing here? I'm sorry to inconvenience you by you have to come to town and do family things. And, they haven't in a couple of years. So I'm just like alone on Christmas. And this is not a pity party. I'm getting somewhere. Like, so I'm looking forward to that. And what makes me crazy is that not only am I alone, but it takes me back to mom's death again. It takes me to all the big family things we used to do. And then I start thinking about how happy it was and how many people from those memories are dead. They're gone. So, right. So, all of that is in my head today at once. It was just a bad mental health day. I mean, it had its highlights, it had its moments that were fun and entertaining, but I'm haunted kind of by these thoughts and like intrusive thoughts. And I wonder, like are those people really gone? Like will I ever get to have a big family gathering again? Like there
Mm,
are no relatives is
right.
what I'm saying. Like I will be uh sitting in the house alone on Christmas, pondering my aloneness, whether I want to or not. Like what I'll do is I'll get gear. I'll rev myself up for all the things I'm going to do to be productive that day. But then I'll be by myself and I'll be painfully aware of why I'm alone, which is that everyone I know has families to do things with. I you know, I have some family, but uh a whole lot of them gleefully picture my bisexual ass in hell whenever we're together. So, it's difficult. Holidays are difficult. And we're like, I would like to have a good relationship with my uh, remaining family, but they think rather terrible things about me. A good number of them do. So it's not really an option. So, like, yeah, so I'll be there thinking about the old days when I had a family and thinking about all the dead ones and wondering if they're still there. Are they really gone, or are they there? Are they with me when I feel like I'm alone? Like, is my mother still there? Um, are my grandparents, great grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins who have died still there? Are they still with me? Do they celebrate Christmas, or do they get up there and find out Christmas is stupid or something? Like, I don't know what it's like in the afterlife. Never been there, but those are the things that are going to be on my head, on my mind, making me insane on Christmas, where I'm going to be. So I hate Christmas, but I mean, well, I don't hate Christmas. I would like to love Christmas again, but it's a long road, pretty much. Um, and this Christmas, I'm not there. Um, but I will be, like the afterlife, like Scrooge was visited by three spirits. Like, can that happen? Like, could my grandma, either one of my grandmas come visit me and bring me a pumpkin pie, preferably a vegan one nowadays, but I don't know. I don't know. Like, will I be visited by three spirits that are gonna fill my heart with Christmas joy again? I don't know. But I
Essentially,
mean,
if
but
you
that's
take
my
enough hallucinogens,
maybe
maybe.
maybe that's what I'll do this Christmas. I'll just like
Just
take
eat some
a
mushrooms.
crap ton of shrooms.
Um,
Yeah. By myself, never done it before. That's a great idea.
a fantastic plan. I'm sure that will turn out so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
I was trying to find the ghost of Christmas past, Matt. Sorry, I need to get bailed out of jail and I can't pay the rent
Yeah,
next month, but
yeah.
uh but
Everybody
yeah.
gets one.
That's fair. That's fair. As long as it doesn't become a habit, like every
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
I'm
Everybody
trying to
gets
like,
one.
and I mean, there are people who say they see and communicate with spirits when they're on hallucinogens, like shrooms in
Yeah,
particular, like the natural things like
shrooms
mushrooms
and
and like
peyote.
ayahuasca, that kind of thing. Yeah. Um, but I have to own the fact that I am a little bit scatterbrained today, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about the afterlife. Like, I mean,
Yeah, is there one?
is there one? I mean, that's really the question that no one has the answer to unless they're there.
Right. The only thing we can do is examine the evidence.
Right.
Like
And
I believe there is some form of
mm-hmm,
afterlife. I
yeah.
am I am no Christian,
Mm-hmm,
so there's no gates of heaven for me in my mind.
right.
It is something far far more obscure that our human minds can't comprehend quite yet.
Mm-hmm,
It is what I think. Like it is not for the living to know. Is how I choose to perceive it, and that's my
right.
choice.
Because what are we
Um,
gonna do with it? Like, I mean, we'll
right,
commune with spirits, I guess. Like, if you're a shaman, I
right,
don't know, or something, or just, or if you have a knocking ghost in your house.
right. And so, like, is there an afterlife? I can't tell you there is one. I can't tell you there isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
I choose to believe there is one. Um, that life just like this sounds super pretentious, but I feel too intelligent to just be buried in the ground and become nutrients for trees. Like I feel too
Ah,
connected. I
right,
feel too connected to everything around me in order or to just believe I just die.
right.
Like,
Which, is a lot of people who think there is no afterlife. That's one of their arguments, is that humans just can't accept that we cease to exist because our entire experience obviously has been of existing. There isn't a single example we have in our minds of oblivion. We can't really fathom it. So some people would say there isn't an afterlife, but people, human beings we're intelligent, but we can't accept that a thing we can't comprehend is a thing, that being oblivion. Like you just simply do not exist. We can't grasp it. So we concoct the idea of an afterlife. Um, that's
I
not
can
what
get
I
down
think.
with that. I mean, I can get down with that, but I feel like it's too absolute.
I agree. And it's again, it's you don't know. Like my grandfather, on my mother's side, one of the things he used to say all the time when people died was now he knows what the preacher's been a guessing about, because that's all we're doing is guessing.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna become him in this regard. Very, like, I'm probably already there talking about my family and friends from high school, like, because anytime he'd be telling stories about people and he'd be like talking about somebody, he'd be like, well, but that old boy's dead now anyway. Like, everybody, that old
Yeah.
boy's dead now. Okay. Yeah. And just move on, because that's like half the people he knew. He was very old, my grandfather on my mother's side. Um, but yeah, it's anybody's guess. But you
it's
think there is
I
something,
I
which,
choose to believe there is.
okay, that's
And
an interesting choice of words. But
right.
I want to come back to that. But go on.
No, you can go on.
Oh, I didn't think you were finished.
No. I mean, I was answering your question.
Oh,
I choose to
okay.
believe that there is
Hmm.
an afterlife in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if
Okay.
I will be individual Matt anymore
Hmm.
after the afterlife, after I die, after my physical body gives out. I don't
Right.
know if I will be individual anymore. I
Or just one with the force,
one with the
so to
force,
speak.
essentially. Yes. I don't know if I just become energy
Hmm.
and become absorbed into the collective consciousness that is the universe, or
Hmm.
some crazy shit like that. But I'd like to stay individual, Matt. I'd like to know
Right.
more. I want to know more secrets. I want to unravel the
Hmm.
mysteries. I want to, and if it costs me a little bit of a physical form,
Hmm.
then like absolutely. I mentioned this last week in the ethics and suicide thing. I'm not suicidal.
Right.
I've had ideations, but my
Uh-huh.
ideations quickly became curiosities
Hmm.
more than ideations. Like
Gotcha.
I am very curious about what comes next.
Hmm.
And that is,
Yeah.
one of the things that like obviously I'm very curious about what comes next, but I am very interested in what happens now.
Right.
Um,
Right. Like, what's the rush?
what's the
It's kind of like,
rush?
I really
Right.
want to know. I'm fascinated by it, but what's the rush? There's lots here to be
Right.
fascinated by as well.
Right.
And
And
there's,
in that regard,
mhm,
there's people that have, gone to the other side and come back. And me in the now,
mm,
I can learn from them. I can
mhm,
unravel a little bit piece by piece of the mystery now while I am still in existence in this physical form.
right.
And so there is no rush, absolutely,
Yeah.
because people are doing the research for me right
Uh-huh.
now.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
I get to read about it online.
Yeah. Yeah. And if, um, and I mean, I haven't gotten to my answer yet, but yeah, it's like, if, like, I do think that there is, and I'll expound upon that later,
Right.
but it's, people could look at it, but I look at both sides of the research and the arguments. Like, I take in both sides. Just because I'm very open to having my opinion changed. Like, that's why I said it's an interesting choice of words when you said I choose to believe um that there is an afterlife, because kind of in recent years my philosophy has very much become one of I refuse to believe anything. I'm more about thinking. Like, I think there is an afterlife, and there are many reasons I've come to that um opinion. It's not a belief though, and I guess that's what it is. I stay open. Like, I will listen to the people who say there is no afterlife and why they think that, because maybe they've had a thought that I missed, and if they did, I'll turn that over. I'll weigh it against my opinion and see where the evidence really. I really do look like a Sith Lord um in this hoodie. Doing this with my hands. If you're on YouTube, you can. But
You can see both his hands and his company logo.
oh crap. Okay, I'll have to. Dang it. I'll just. um.
Put the shawl around you front ways instead of
It.
backwards.
It. Okay. Oh God, I'm terrible at life. Um. Anyway. um. What was I saying? Dang it.
Beats me. You went into Sith Lord mode for a second.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, I think there is an afterlife, but I'm open to, and I've come to my conclusions from
Right.
really turning it over and really listening to, like, what you were talking about, um, like people who have NDEs, near death experiences. Um, there's some compelling evidence there. And,
There is. And to
but,
me, a lot of it is the difference between the difference between agnosticism and atheism.
mhm. I think
Atheism
you
is
mean Gnost, or no, you're right, agnostic.
agnostic.
You're right.
Yeah.
I get agnostic and Gnostic jumbled in my head sometimes. Go
Like,
on.
atheists absolutely believe there's no God. There is no God.
Mm,
And then agnostics is that we cannot know the unknown.
right, right.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah, and that's
and that's sort of the I'm taking the agnostic approach to an afterlife, essentially,
mhm.
is that there is no, I choose to believe in an afterlife because you and I have had discussions on just the word belief before that are
Oh
very
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Um, but like, there is no evidence that could convince me. There is no human based scientific approached evidence that could make me change that opinion. So therefore, that is probably one of the few beliefs that I have.
Wait, which I kind of zoned. Your opinion that there is an afterlife, or that there is no
Right.
God? What?
My opinion of there being some form of afterlife
Uh-huh.
probably cannot be swayed by any human experiment.
Okay.
Like,
Okay, interesting. Interesting. And that
because
is
there's no human experiment. I cannot imagine a human experiment that could deter me from the belief that consciousness exists beyond the physical realm right
right.
now.
Right. And I mean, they are, like, I think science is going to eventually prove that.
Right.
It's just really hard um to be taken seriously as a scientist if you choose to pursue that uh particular mystery. Um but there's a lot that you're saying that I want to speak to. But I mean, one thing I want to come, because atheists listening to this, like, it's like atheists and bisexuals, it's very much the same in that everyone has their own idea about what that actually means. Like, if
Right.
you ask any given atheist, they might have a different answer for you for what that means as far as how they feel about afterlife and God and that sort of thing. Because, a lot of atheists will tell you that if you are agnostic, you are an atheist. Um, and just kind of like, I mean, to qualify what I bringing in bisexuality, it's like a lot of bisexuals will tell you that if you're bi curious, you're bisexual, and that's how they understand it. So to a lot of atheists listening to this, they might have been chafing because they don't like, atheism isn't necessarily an absolute disbelief. It's more like it's a very fine line between atheism and agnostic, because if there is in fact a difference. But I mean, I follow what you're saying. I'm just trying to speak to people who might be like, you're wrong, that's not what we think, because I mean,
Well,
it's all the same, man. but
I
but
mean,
yeah, like an atheist
look up the
doesn't.
definitions of either one of them,
Right,
and
exactly,
I feel
it's
like the
confusing.
agnosticism is the final form of atheism. You're
Right,
atheist in
well,
high school, and then you move on to agnostic, and when you
yeah,
learn more
well,
about yourself.
and like people who are believers in a faith, will characterize atheists often as having a belief system. Like, if you're an
Absolutely,
atheist, you believe
you
that
believe
there is no God. But it
absolutely.
isn't the case, I don't think. I mean, the atheist, it's atheist. You are not, you're opposed to theism. Like, it doesn't mean you believe there is no God. It means you don't believe there is a God. And I think there's a very real distinction between those two things, because I think you can not believe that there is a God without believing that there isn't. It's more like agnostic. You're you're open-minded, but you don't have a belief. Like, you don't believe in the God of Abraham, so to speak.
Well,
Um
the belief of a, maybe that's a there's a belief to every ism,
mhm,
essentially, that you have to accept if you are going to label yourself as such. And I feel
mm,
like the belief of agnosticism is the belief, as in you this can't be swayed, that there are things that are not meant to be known.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. And I think
And
and I
and
don't think there's anything wrong with trying to know them.
there
But
isn't,
just
but
by the cosmic nature of these things, it's beyond our capacity. We
absolutely. And that's
cannot
why
comprehend it.
atheism, literally the definition is that you disbelieve,
Mhm.
and you
You
disbelieve in
do
a
not
god.
believe.
Yeah, you do not. And I don't know, I think atheism is short-sighted. I think
Mhm.
it's very I'm closing the book on that. I refuse to think
Uh-huh.
about it.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what a belief is. It's you draw a line in the sand and you say, beyond this line
so
of belief, I refuse to think. I refuse to
right.
accept new information.
Right, and
Um,
that's the atheism's core belief. If the
well,
agnosticism's core belief is that I can't know more than I can see,
mhm.
then the atheist is that I refuse to know more
Well,
than
see,
I
but
can see.
like, I think, um, I'm in defense of atheists because I think you're right that some atheists they staunchly believe there is nothing, they don't think. I've encountered atheists like that.
Yeah.
But I think the most prominent atheists that are, the voice and the face of that movement. Uh,
Is it a movement?
well, I don't know. I was struggling to find a word
Yeah.
because I don't
I
think
was
it's
like,
not a
is there a
movement.
movement?
It's more like because it's not a thing. It's not an organized thing.
It
That's
is
the whole.
not.
It is
No,
not a
it's
religion.
yeah.
It is
No.
not a belief system. There are some atheists, people who say I'm an atheist, who don't believe, who believe there is no God, but there are most atheists, I think, will accept. Like, an atheist would tell you, if you presented me with proof that there is a God, or your God, the God of Abraham, exists. I'm just using that one as an example.
Right.
Then I would
Exactly.
absolutely accept that. I wouldn't just say no. It's not, as the fact is, there isn't evidence. There isn't proof that your God exists. And I think a lot of atheists it's not about the concept of God that, gets them bent. It's the religious presentations of God that just cannot really be a thing in their minds. Like that's what they don't believe in. But it's hard to separate, I think, religion from a concept of a higher a being. Because
Absolutely.
if you talk about God, and that's one of the problems with
But when
studying
you're
any of this
asked for your
scientifically.
religious views, I feel like atheism is the most bare bones answer you can give
Uh-huh.
because of what you just said.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's like when you're asked for your religious views,
Hmm.
atheism's not organized. Neither is agnosticism.
Right, right. They're just
And their religious views.
ways
What
of
are your
thinking.
religious views?
Hmm.
And I just feel like because of what I said earlier, me, the self-proclaimed Satanist agnostic,
Hmm.
it's just sort of like you're not thinking far enough ahead. And
Uh-huh.
maybe atheism is just a way to shut down people who ask you what your religious beliefs are
Hmm.
very quickly. But I don't
Yeah.
believe there's any evidence that could be presented. If atheist says, you know, present me with evidence,
Uh-huh.
me as an agnostic, I said that's not enough evidence.
Hmm.
No matter how much evidence you give as a physical human, it's not enough.
Right. Right.
And no atheist would ever admit that either.
Hmm.
No atheist would say,
Right.
yes, that is proof. There
Yeah.
is no, me as agnostic, again, speaking, that
Hmm.
there is no way there's going to be enough proof as a human.
Hmm.
We're not going to be able to format God.
Right.
Like,
Right.
but yeah, next time on this impromptu episode of Autodidactica, the difference between atheism and agnosticism.
Right. Yeah, we should do because we're really getting off on a whole other topic. But I think it's relevant. Like it's relevant just talking about how people process um
Afterlife.
yeah, spiritual matters
Right.
that can't be tangibly proven, or can they? Like at least like maybe in a an anecdotal way. Like if people have had experiences, I know I've had experiences that I think were communications from people who have moved on. But I
A
can't
god, if
prove
you
it.
will.
God, or
The
angels, or
universe or the
no,
collective consciousness of all of our ancestors
yeah,
or the
yeah,
universe itself.
something out
Energy.
there. There is something that I feel I have connected with that is beyond the physical. Like I'll give you an example. Uh, like when my dog died, my last dog, Barney. Um, like we had this dog for 13 years. He was my brother. We were little kids together. I grew up with this dog, so we were very close. But I was living in an apartment at the time. I had moved out and made the difficult decision not to take Barney with me. I left him. I thought he would be happier with my mother and sister because there's more. I don't think I would make that same decision today. But aside from the point is I was very close with Barney, but I didn't live with him, and he was getting old. And we had to make the decision that we were going to take him in and euthanize him because he couldn't walk anymore. He was crapping himself. Like he couldn't do anything. He couldn't live his life with any quality. So it's kind of like what we were talking about last week with
Right.
euthanasia. It's
Ethical
ethical. We were
euthanasia.
going to we thought it was the right thing to do, but we never got there. But that's how sick he was. But like, so I was in my apartment and I suddenly just got flooded with like a presence. Like I felt Barney. I don't know how else to say it. And again, the whole point of this illustration is that I can't prove this.
Right.
It's
Anecdotal.
it's an anecdotal bit of quote unquote evidence that proves something to me in my experience that I can't share that proof, even though I can share the story. But like I started crying. Like it's like Barney filled the room. And that is the only way I can explain what happened. It's like he was there. He was with me, and I was overwhelmed with grief because I knew he was saying goodbye. I knew he was his body had died. And a few minutes later there's a knock on my door, and it's my mother. Um who never comes to my apartment or came to my apartment. You know, that old girl's dead now. But everybody's dead. But like yeah, so she knocks on my door and I open it. There's mom, and she had come to let me know that Barney had passed away. And I just said, I know. He told me. I mean, that was a very real experience I had. But I can't prove it to anyone. But that's a part of why I think there is an afterlife. As much as I was speaking for, atheism and such, I just want every viewpoint kind of presented as much as we can. But I do think there is an afterlife. And that's not even the primary reason, but it is one reason that I think was very profound for me. And I've had other episodes similar to that. That could, like, you could call that a coincidence. You could, I
A
saw
profound
my,
sense of connectivity.
yes, that's really what it was. I was connected to the spirit realm in that
Right.
moment. I had a
Do
similar
dogs go
cousin.
to heaven? Tune in next time.
Yeah, for real, that could be a topic. I had a very similar experience with my cousin Ori when he died a couple years ago, just suddenly, and I wasn't going to be able to go to his funeral. And I mean, this to to people who haven't had an experience like this might sound crazy, but the night before his funeral, we hung out all night. Like he was there, very much the way that Barney was. He was there, and we were talking, and he was, I felt at one point like he was hugging me. And you could say that that's just my mind trying to process my grief, but there's no way to prove it, but it was being in that moment. Um, it was very real to me, and he was very tangible. I didn't see him, but I could feel him. Um, and and I had one more, and I'm done. Like I've got others, but I gotta cut it off. But this one is a little bit different, which is why I wanted to share this one. My dad's dad, my paternal grandfather, honestly, I've had numerous experiences feeling like he has reached out to me. Um, like okay, PTSD, this isn't the story I'm going to tell, but since I mentioned that earlier, when I was going to counseling initially and they were talking to me about PTSD, and I was looking up um how people had dealt with it, and how they're like, I just have to live with this for the rest of my life, and I'm like, not me. I can't do that forever. But like I was really down, and at one point, and see, my sisters had this too, this experience that I'm about to explain, like try to describe, where it's like you hear a voice, but it's not with your ears. It's like it's just in your head. And it's Granddaddy Sir's voice. And I was down about the PTSD thing, and he had PTSD. He was a World War II vet. Um and yeah, but I heard this voice in my head, not with my ears, Granddaddy Sir, and he said, "We're gonna kick this thing's ass." And then I was like, "Okay, yeah, you're right. We are going to kick this thing's ass." and I've been fighting it ever since, and I think making tremendous progress. But like the one I was going to tell you is that shortly after he passed away, um and this one sounds so wacky, but like I was at Walmart or some grocery store, it's irrelevant, and I was walking back to my car, and suddenly I smelled Granddaddy Sir's cigar, and I looked up, and there in the parking lot was Granddaddy Sir's white truck that he used to drive me around in when I was a little kid. And there was Granddaddy Sir sitting in the driver's seat and just waving at me with a big smile.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then I like rubbed my eyes and he's gone. But that it was weird because like I wasn't even really thinking about him, I don't think. I just smelled the cigar and looked up. But again, other side of that, you could take that and argue against that being a real experience by saying I smelled a cigar. It triggered a memory of Granddaddy Sir who had just died. And so it was very much on my mind, and I'm still processing the fact that he's gone. So I hallucinated him. But it didn't, to me, it was a comforting thing. Like it really helped me process that he was gone. Um, Being able to see him wave at me, kind of saying, I'm still here. It was really more of an I'm still here than a goodbye. And, other experiences have kind of reinforced that Granddaddy Sir is still here. Um, but I've talked enough. Let's go. I don't want to just
Yeah.
dominate because
So
I got a
so
lot to
in
say.
so in short, is there an afterlife?
I would
Yes or
say
no?
yes. If I had to pick an answer, I'd say yes.
I would also agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now
All
the
right, end of
next,
podcast. Let's.
yeah, see
Okay.
you later. All right, check it
Okay,
out
go on.
next time. See you next time. Um, what does it look like? What does Glenn's afterlife look like?
Oh hell no, you did not. How about okay, I've been dominating, like I've been talking too much.
Okay, yeah,
And if
you
you get
asked
me
me the
started on
question.
that,
Yeah.
like I'll answer that question, but you first.
So my afterlife, I don't know. It like don't get me wrong. The Christian afterlife
Mm-hmm.
sounds amazing.
Mm,
Like it's eternal love, and I just get to float on clouds for the rest
yeah.
of my life. But however, like my afterlife would look a lot more like John Livingston Seagull,
Uh-huh. Oh
where
yeah, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I love that book. Go
I
ahead, read that.
am
Go
I
on.
am just zapping between planets,
Yes.
unraveling mysteries, and I am just a being outside of knowledge, outside of
Yeah.
physical existence. I can interact when I choose to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't remember the seagull that he interacted with, but he
Oh,
taught somebody.
why do I want to
He's
say it
Obi.
was
He's Obi-Wan's Qui-Gon. Like I
yeah,
want to
pretty
be somebody's
much.
Qui-Gon. I want to
Uh-huh.
become a Force ghost and choose to interact when I choose to
Right.
destroy the ancient tome, the ancient texts, as Yoda did to
Right.
for
Right.
Ray's sake.
Uh,
I want to do all of that. Like I want to exist beyond comprehension.
right.
I want to find out more. I want to live. Like I want to
Right.
continue to
You want to
live.
continue, you want to, like you and I both love this line from Peter Pan. To die
Right.
would be an awfully big
Awfully,
adventure.
yeah, absolutely.
That's what I
Because
want too.
that's my ideal afterlife is,
Mm-hmm.
what does it look like? Well, it looks like what my life is now with no limits, no
Uh-huh.
boundaries, no desires, no material desires. I don't have to go work a 9 to 5 to
Mm-hmm.
live.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to put gas in my car. I don't
Right.
have
You're
to eat.
free.
I don't have
Yeah.
to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I am my mind is unbound, and that's what the afterlife looks like to me, is that I shed this frail physical form and I'm able to take to the stars. The
Uh-huh.
sky's the limit, literally, and break past it, you know, go to Mars. my consciousness is completely free. That's what the afterlife looks like to me.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, you're unencumbered.
my energy is now expunged. Like
Uh-huh.
I can exit this world that I've been accustomed to.
Right.
I entertain the theories of a collective consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
that that's where we go when we die, but I don't like that idea.
Right.
Like, I don't like the idea that I just become one with the consciousness. I lose all my I love my individuality.
Mm-hmm.
um I
Yeah.
absolutely, I crave individualism,
Right.
and
Yeah.
to
I've
me that sounds like hell, to just lose myself and be absorbed.
mm-hmm.
Like, I would prefer the Christian heaven to losing myself and being absorbed.
Right. Right.
um like, heaven, the Christian heaven is very abstract, even as
Mm-hmm.
defined as it is,
Yeah.
because, well, am I, like, like, what's my form? What
Mm-hmm.
form do I take when I die and I go to heaven to spend my life with Jesus?
Right.
Like, am I an old man? Am I an infant? Am I at the prime of my youth? How do you determine that? Like, what
Yeah.
form do you take as as an angel?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've never read the Bible. But I've been through years of church and
Right.
ministry, but so I don't know all the different ways in the, you know how do you say it, hypocritical, or
Mm-hmm.
contradictory
Uh,
Bible, where there's so
uh-huh.
many different stories of the same thing. I don't know
Oh
how many
yeah.
different ways the Bible defines heaven,
Like how many? Yeah, I see what you're saying.
but the common assumption is that when you die you become an angel. Heaven has
Mm.
another angel,
Well,
and
I mean, that's not really taught in the Bible. That's more I guess folklore, mythology. It's not really
right,
like you become an angel.
it's
Like
more it's
angels
more
are
wishful thinking.
yeah, it's just that your spirit lives on um in some form that you are with God. I think the actual teachings are it's angels are separate beings, but that's the dogma. That's I don't think if how do you define an angel? The word itself means messenger. I think that you could become a messenger from the afterlife, like Granddaddy Sir sitting in his truck was a messenger. Barney coming to me in the apartment, if that's what happened, was a messenger. Um, so yeah, it just depends on how you define angel. Um, in the literal sense of messenger, yeah, um, but I don't want to go on a, I don't want to go down another. I don't want to get to my answer. Basically, if you're not finished, please go on.
No, that, I mean, that was pretty much it. Is like, I just hope that I can maintain my individuality
Right.
as Matt Paul,
Uh-huh.
and continue on my quest for answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then also, like, me as a person now, the person I am
Uh-huh.
on this earth, I also crave relationships. Do I lose those? I'd like to think that, like, when I die I can meet up with Glenn's consciousness, and my other friends' consciousnesses,
Yeah.
and and share the things that we've learned, in an energy format. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, but, like, because I feel like life after death, in the way that I just framed it, would be
Mm-hmm.
incredibly lonely.
Mm.
Like, but is that just a human emotion, or will I shed that emotion whenever
Right.
I
Right.
become consciousness, pure energy?
Right. When you go from
And
being a caterpillar to a butterfly, do your priorities change? Do your values change based on your new perspective? And we can't
right,
know that because until we achieve that new perspective. Um, yeah, and like even in Star Wars, it's a bit of both. Like I was because when you're talking about maintaining your individuality. That's the whole thing about a force ghost, is that most people in that story, if you die, if your body dies, your life force becomes one with the force. But if you have special training, then you can maintain your individuality and come back as a force ghost and guide people. So I kind of wonder about that. Like, well, are you ready for me to talk, or do you have
Yeah, no,
more?
you
Okay.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was my bit on what does the afterlife look like to me.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess to me, it's kind of like, it's what the preacher's been a guessing about really does resonate with me, in that I feel like the one thing we know about the afterlife is that we don't know anything about the afterlife, like what it looks like, what it is like to be there, whether or not it is there. We don't know until we get there. But I wonder if it is more like, I guess if when I'm imagining it, because I do write novels and I do have ghosts and spirits and angels and demons. I deal with the spirit realm in both horror and fantasy scenarios. So I do imagine what I think an afterlife I can believe in looks like quite a bit. And I think, much like with Star Wars, what they're saying there is it's not the same for everyone. um like heaven is not necessarily the same for everyone, and I don't like the idea of a compartmentalized rigid afterlife, like with if you're a good person you go to heaven, if you're a bad person you go to hell, which is one of those things that you can't say who is objectively a good person and a bad person. It depends on your values. So, I mean, what you define as good or bad, someone else might not see the same way. Like with my family that gleefully envisions me in hell. Like there are things I do not think are bad that they do think are evil, worse than murder and war. Um, and it goes both ways. Like we have different values. That doesn't mean one of us is good and one of us is bad. We're both striving to be the best us we can be, but it's different. So like my thinking on the afterlife is so broad and crazy and weird. Like I think like where I'm at right now in my pondering of this puzzle um is I think we're all one even now. And this might be, my author's mind, because to me my characters are fractals of the author. They are me, but they don't know that. There's like barriers in their consciousness that define them as an individual, but they're all ultimately me, just in a different scenario with a different identity. The good guys, the bad guys, the men, the women, everyone is me. But they're having these experiences, and when I'm in a character writing, I'm living that life in a very real way. And when a character dies, they still exist because I still exist. They're still me. It's just that they're no longer limited there. Like I can bring them back as a ghost if I want to. I don't have to. Either way, they still exist. Like there's almost a higher version of them that I have conversations with when I'm plotting out a story. It's like we work out together where their life is going. But I'm them. But I could be God, but I'm still them. And they're basically having a conversation with themselves. Like when you pray, like you're kind of talking to your higher self. And I mean, this is so out there, but that's kind of how I think it must be for us. Like if you're praying to God, you are ultimately praying to yourself. Like you are God. And so is everyone you know. So is your dog. So is the grass. So are the trees. So are the clouds. Everything is ultimately the same thing. But it's not that we merge. It's not like if you and I died and I think that I get this is a good way to do it. Like let's say you and I get hit by a bus. We both die. What I think happens then is that we are Glenn and Matt, unencumbered by physical form. And I think that we can explore, like you're talking about. We can explore the cosmos. We can visit our loved ones. We can talk to other spirits. Like I feel like there are like just countless dimensions of reality that you can ascend to when you're ready. Like I think from physical to spiritual is one ascension. But the higher you go, the fewer individuals there are because we might go up to a level where there's this higher version of both of us, the author of Glenn and Matt, who we both ultimately are fractals of, who we both remember that we are. It's not that Glenn and Matt merge into one person and lose Glenn and Matt. It's like Glenn and Matt are still there, but we're characters that the person we really are was writing. So we're remembered and we remember both of those lives and we can plug back into them. Like I think once you've ascended to that higher plane, you could still come down if you wanted to and say hi to an old friend who's still among the living or the physical realm. But when you can keep going up, and I think you ultimately get to a point where all is one, like all of time and space. And I don't think that's an end either. And that's where it gets really confusing. Because then, I'm talking about space time and all of that. And I'll try not to go there because I
Yeah,
could
I
go off.
already was about to go there, and then I like held back
I
because of one
mean,
of the things you mentioned, like visiting individuals. It's like, yeah,
uh,
you can probably visit that individual all at once.
right. Because you're
Like,
suddenly like, I think whenever you attain that premise,
oh God, what have I
um,
done?
you a lot, yeah, you've unleashed the beast. Um, I I guess I'm coining this phrase if it hasn't already been done. Like I don't like to say this because I want to use it in books in the future, where I characters explore this very thing. Um, but to me, I call it like when you attain that ultimate presence where you're not quite infinite, but you're still aware of yourself. Um, but there's no other consciousness. And it's like you've become the eye of God, but not EYE, but the letter I, the eye of God. And you look up one more level and you're infinite. You are everyone who has ever been, you're all of time and space simultaneously. But see, when you get to that point of infinite presence and infinite knowledge of every iteration, of every timeline, of just all of it simultaneously, you have no agency. Like you cannot make a decision. You can't learn anything new. You can't ask a question because you know everything. Like everything is one. But I think if you look at that as the ending, it's also simultaneously the beginning. Because once you are infinitely present, you are experiencing every lifetime all at once, which means you're Matt. You're Matt as a child experiencing chronological time. So it's never like we get to an end. It's like everything is all at once. It's just that we eventually get to a point where we comprehend that. But that's also the point at which we begin to be fractals. So because we're comprehending the fractals. So it's just a constant, never ending. uh,
Yeah, it's that's a lot to take in, Glenn.
well, you asked. I mean,
I did ask, yeah, and I knew what I was getting into before because we've had, several conversations that went down this route as well.
true.
So to you, an afterlife looks a lot similar to what I think an
Okay.
afterlife looks like,
Uh-huh.
except you're optimistic about the fact that we maintain our individuality
Right.
to a degree.
Right.
We may decide we'll move on.
Right. But our
And
individuality never ceases to exist.
right.
It's just part of the whole.
So do you hope that's the case? Like, I certainly do.
I do too.
I
Um,
I don't mind becoming nutrients for plants.
right. But I think that's more the biological part of you. And
The
that
physical.
absolutely happens. Like that's something we do know. Your body will decay, your body will be recycled by Earth, basically.
So something that came up,
Mm-hmm.
I literally just wrote this down in what you were talking about just now,
Uh-huh.
is what about reincarnation?
Okay. See, okay, again, let's go. Glenn and Matt get hit by a bus. I think
Right.
you can do that if you want to. I don't think you necessarily have to, but again,
Do you have the choice?
I think
Or
probably,
is
yeah.
it sort of like a choice that's made for you by your current consciousness? As in, I'm
Hmm.
not done yet.
Right. And I think so. I think if you're not done, if you want to go in and like you die in a video game and you're not done, you keep going. You come back with another life and try it again.
Or you die in a
Um,
Japanese manga,
then you come back as a slime or
a
something like
slime or a
right,
sword or
right.
insert anything, literally
Mhm.
anything, not limited to genitalia.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, don't ask me about that. But yeah, so reincarnation, like yeah, like that's a man. I wish I would have done more research on
Mhm.
reincarnations, like
Gosh,
children
dude,
that proclaim to have lived a previous life
it's so
and can tell
fascinating.
you about
Uh-huh.
their previous life to incredible detail.
That's another one we should do a whole topic on. But it does
Reincarnation,
it does come into this because if like let's say everyone reincarnates.
what is that's the afterlife?
That's what I was just about to say. If that's the
Yeah,
case, then this is the afterlife.
we're already living it.
Right. Exactly.
Our consciousness has been here before.
Uh-huh.
The term old soul.
Yeah.
Like you've reincarnated a many a time. And see, like I think this is obviously autodidactica. This everything is hypothetical,
Yeah,
but
yeah, we don't know. This is just what
we
we're
don't know.
guessing. We're guessing about it. Like the
But
preacher.
yeah, like the preacher. Um,
Uh-huh.
but no, I read an article a long time ago that was talking about how there are old souls and there are new souls. And basically, old souls are the ones that are downtrodden. They've been here since the start of time
Mhm.
as like consciousness traveled here to preserve this earth.
Right.
And old souls are the ones that have been here since the beginning, and they're the ones that are the most beaten down. They're the baby boomers. They have no they don't care anymore. They've seen the outcome of humanity time and time again. The war, the killing, the strife,
Mhm.
the struggles, and
Right.
the new souls are the ones that have just arrived, and they're the ones that are idealistic, revolutionary,
Mhm.
and this is all metaphysical. And but that was an entertaining article, is all I can say. And like
Mhm.
reading through the article, I definitely identified myself as a new soul, somebody who just got here and is like bright-eyed and
Uh-huh.
bushy-tailed and ready to make a change in the world. But the
Mhm.
old souls are done. They're over it. They're ready to work their 9 to 5 till they retire and die.
Yeah.
But if reincarnation is the way to go, then I feel like I am an old soul. Like it's a completely different logic sequence from
Uh-huh.
that article that I read, a while back, where like I feel like the old souls, they've seen it all before,
Yeah.
and you can either be an old soul and be revolutionized and ready to make a change, or you can be an old soul and ready to accept things as they are.
Uh-huh.
And because if reincarnation is the afterlife, those are the two options basically.
Right. And like the whole, like, I don't know if I think there are old souls or new souls or whatever. But on my thinking on that matter, like, if reincarnate, because I do think reincarnation happens. I don't think it's a rule. Um, I think it's an exception. I think it's something you can choose, or it's something that, like, if you chose a purpose for your physical life before you came here, um, and that purpose is not fulfilled, I think you're likely to come back and try it again. Um, but as far as old souls and new souls, I think if that's the case, to me, I don't think the old souls are going to be bitter and tired. They might be a little world weary, like a little separated from some of the stuff going on, like the dramas of the world. But I kind of think old souls are the people you encounter in the world who have extraordinary wisdom, like that are wise for their years, who are guides, kind of. Like, I think we encounter people who are guides to us, and like they have wisdom that is just a part of them, just kind of a viewpoint, not necessarily even based on books they've read or experiences they've had in this life, just like an awareness, like a way of looking at the world that um is
Or maybe it's
very.
less that they still experience things because we don't know our past lives, but they learn it
Mhm.
on the first try. Maybe
Right.
that's what it is.
Maybe, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I think new souls are the doofuses that you
Right.
meet. Like, I just think they don't know what they're doing. They're just here, they're just doing it. To me, they're the ones who are more likely to uh get burnt out or bitter. But then maybe not. Maybe that would be like a mid-grade soul who's been here enough times to be sick of it, but not enough times to be enlightened about it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they've had a decent life every single time.
Yeah.
You know, they were born white in America twice,
Right, right.
and so they're doing all right.
Hmm.
They have enough generational wealth to get them through, and the racial background to
Yeah.
perpetuate that.
Hmm.
But and then so like you talk about reincarnation,
Yeah.
and maybe you were born somewhere else previously.
Hmm.
Maybe that's why you're more accepting of a different perspective.
Yeah.
I God, that sounds so white to say. Maybe I was black in a previous life. Like,
I mean, maybe you were. Who knows? Like, oh, you want to hear a story? Okay,
okay,
I'll
story
take.
time.
Like, one of the many times my mom was in the hospital in the last 5 years of her life, like, she they had to induce a coma and to operate on her, and she wouldn't come out of it because her kidneys were bad. Um, and so it was taking a really long time for her to pass the stuff that knocked her out. Um, and when she finally came out, because they kept her in why can't I think of the intensive care unit? I don't.
I see you.
ICU. She was in the ICU. That is the intensive care unit. Okay.
That is. You got it
So
right.
good job, me. But she was in there for like a week or something, if not longer. and let me adjust these earphones. It's okay, that's better. Now I can hear you and myself. Um, but when she came out, the problem with the ICU, and remember this if you ever have a relative in the ICU for an extended period of time, take them like those sleep masks, like an eye cover, so that they can have real sleep cycles. Because what happens is they don't turn out the lights in the ICU. So you never, like, you're in a coma, but you're not really getting real sleep. It's like you're being kept awake while you're simultaneously being kept asleep for a week. So when you wake up, you're crazy. And they called it hospital psychosis. And in this state, my mother became another person at one. Like, I went up there to visit her, and she was, they had to strap her down finally because she was not Judy Clark. And she was going on, she started singing all of these old slave songs. That's what triggered me. Like, all of these, like, mid 1800s, like, slave songs. And she was like, what else did we used to sing? And she would do that, but she wasn't telling us she was a different person. She just was this different person. And then she, like, went, she was begging me to get her out of there. And she's like, I just want to give my baby some water. They wouldn't let me give my baby any water. And I just, like, and she's just talking about all these things, like being a slave on a plantation. That's where my mother went when she was in that state. And like, one of her friends came up there, and I was telling her, okay, mom's not mom right now. um this is what's going on. And her friend Jennifer was like, it really makes you wonder about reincarnation, doesn't
Mm.
it? Like, is she remembering a past life? Did she have a
So here
magical
yeah, so
journey?
there's more anecdotal evidence for you
Right, anecdotal.
because yeah, Glenn could be lying through his goddamn
Right,
teeth
I
right
could be
now
lying, but there are other people who I
for
could get
dramatic
to.
effect.
Uh-huh, right.
But you know, I choose to believe him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, but you know me too, but I can't ask
right,
all these people to know me. And so I never expect my stories like that
right,
to prove anything. It's just, it's an interesting story. And other people
right.
may have had similar experiences.
It's like one of my good friends once told me that the meaning of
Uh-huh.
deja vu, like when you experience a overwhelming sense of I've been here before,
Right.
it means you are where you're supposed to be.
Interesting.
And dude, I kind of cater to that belief as well
Uh-huh.
because like I've had deja vu. I have deja vu all the time,
Hmm.
and it's a belief, and so I have no evidence to back it up.
Yeah.
But like I often feel that I am where I'm supposed to be,
Uh-huh.
that I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
And so when I wake up every day and then experience a conversation, or I'm driving somewhere and it's somewhere different, and I feel that I've had this exact day play out before me before,
Right.
then it feels, yeah, it's comforting
Uh-huh.
to think that I've been here before. So like maybe even reincarnation could be the the ascended me reliving that day, redoing it maybe.
Uh-huh. Like Groundhog Day, but you don't really remember
Right,
the
exactly.
previous times.
Exactly. And so, from your account, it almost sounds like you believe more in reincarnation than you do in other forms of afterlife.
Well, I think there's compelling evidence for all of it. I don't think it's rigid. I
Right,
don't think it's
belief
one or the other. I think reincarnation does happen.
is a possibility.
Yeah, I think, yeah, no, I think it's more like You know that we used to have an office in the United States. There was just one guy working in it. And the whole point of it was that he would go and investigate claims of reincarnation. And I can't remember the guy's name. He's that old boy's dead now. But you know, um, but I watched a lot of stuff like him on YouTube. You can find this guy doing presentations about some of the cases that they studied, and they found almost nothing that couldn't be explained another way. But they did find some diamonds in the rough
A
that
lot
were
of things
just
that could be explained a different way.
right, right. That's I guess what it is. It was hard to find anything that was definitively proof that or couldn't be explained away. I guess is yeah what you're saying. But there were some things that could not be explained away. Like where someone a little kid and usually like what he'd found was that most of the reincarnation testimonies came from children under the age of 3 who would just straight up tell you the last time I was alive, this happened, or when I was on a
Hiroshima was on
yeah,
fire.
yeah, they little kids will
Like,
tell you about being a fighter pilot in World War II and getting shot down, and they can tell you the name of the boat, the aircraft carrier, they can tell you the name of their friends, and they've been able to find these people and verify the story. And it's just very compelling. And okay, maybe he was coached, maybe it's all, but it's a whole lot of work. And, with a family like parents who have no connection to these old war vets or these uh, octogenarians who were a person's siblings in their previous incarnation, but you find it. And this is one thing I got from this guy. I wrote a short story called Mommy Doesn't See Me, which you can read it for free as a PDF on my website or get it on Amazon for your Kindle, plug over. But it was based on one of this guy's cases that I thought I was like, why can't they see the answer here? Like to me, I felt like I was solving this case that they could not solve. And I did it as a short story. But the whole thing was there was this little kid who remembered this his previous house, his previous family. Um that he had a brother, sister, whatever, his mother, his house, his dog. He remembered all of these details, and the mom was concerned, and like this guy comes to investigate, and they found the house that the little boy was talking about, was drawing all of that. And they took him there, and he runs in the house. He's all excited. He knows where everything is. He is very familiar with the layout. They find the family that he's talking about. They have no idea what anyone is talking. They're like, all of the things that this little kid is telling you are accurate, but we didn't have another kid. Like
right,
they didn't have another sibling. That's and I think it was like the neighbor's dog. It wasn't their dog, but he remembered the dog and playing with the dog. And so that was something interesting because this guy just had to leave that as inconclusive because all the evidence lined up except for the very critical element of there was no kid who died. And he remembered his death and that he remembered his reincarnation. He said he fell down a hole and then he had a new mommy. Like, so that's how his child's mind was interpreting what he had experienced. And my writer's brain was like, they didn't have another kid, they had a ghost. They had a ghost in the house who was really connected to that family, who really was felt like a part of that family because they were in that house. Because because the kid described his death too. I think he said he got hit by a car. I could be remembering that wrong. Um,
Read the
that's
short story.
yeah, that's what I did in my short story. He got hit by a car, but he wasn't a member of this family. He was a ghost. That's my solution to that particular riddle. But this came out of a very legitimate investigation into a claim of reincarnation and stuff like that. And then like stuff like when they're doing experiments in hospitals where they know someone's going to die. Like you and I were talking about this, you might be better at talking about those things. But there is stuff where there is an actual attempt at seriously looking at these mysteries in a scientific way. And you can trust a guy who tells you almost every case we studied led us nowhere. He's able to say because to be a real good paranormal investigator, you've got to be a good skeptic. If you're not willing to play the skeptic, you aren't really looking for the truth. You're just looking to prove what you want to be real. So, I mean, it's all very interesting to me, but I've once again been talking too much.
No, you're totally fine because it's all very. I mean, because I do like the idea of reincarnation,
Uh-huh.
and I feel like if the if we were to accept the idea that we're all reincarnations,
Yeah.
then there's a sort of how do you say you have to accept the idea of new souls because there are inherently more people now than there ever were before
At least on Earth.
on Earth. Right, exactly. So like new souls to Earth.
Uh-huh.
And so like a fair amount of us may not be done here.
Oh
We may
yeah.
have been reincarnated once, twice, thrice,
Uh-huh.
or more. And
True.
but if you are going to accept the idea of reincarnation, then you have to accept the idea of a new incarnation.
I don't know if you have to, but
I mean,
it does go.
reincarnated into multiple bodies then, because we started at Neanderthals and went and
Or
moved on
did
to
we?
different, right, or did we?
Or did we start as
Referred three
dinosaurs, or did
three
we
episodes ago,
right? Or did we start as
aliens,
yeah, did we
aliens.
start as whatever life forms were in whatever star system that exploded and sent those building blocks of life to our solar system? Like where did a soul begin its journey in this cosmos? Don't know. And it's a big universe. That's why, yeah, I mean, and where do souls, what doesn't have a soul? Like we're talking about, is there an afterlife? Like there's one philosophy that I really like that says all things are alive. All things have a soul. Every rock has a soul. Um, your car has a soul, and every part of your car has a soul, a spirit that's a
Okay,
part
so
a part
so
of
you're
the infinite
so
is
you're
in
talking about the
everything.
yeah. Okay, I got you. So we could be reincarnated into anything,
And
or be
from anything.
reincarnated from anything.
Right. It's
Yes,
just whatever our spirit, if our
that's
spirit needs
the
to experience being a mountain.
yeah. No, Hinduism is very into that as well. Like if
Hmm.
you're a horrible person, you will be reincarnated as a cockroach.
Oh, right. Ugh.
And if you watch Glenn's YouTube videos, you know how much we don't like those.
Right.
Um,
No, we do not like cockroaches.
but yeah, so I can see that as well. So maybe not a new human soul. Maybe your first incarnation on this planet was a fern,
Right.
and then you got eaten by a dinosaur, and maybe
Uh-huh.
you were born as a dinosaur,
Mm-hmm.
and you ate a fern, and you were reincarnated as a fern again to get a better understanding of what a fern is
Right.
to the
Right.
universe,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth until you've been everything there is to be besides human, and then you get
Mm-hmm.
reincarnated as human, the
Mm-hmm.
dominant species on this planet,
Right.
and as far as we can prove, the most conscious
Mm-hmm.
species or thing, not even necessarily being, but thing that has been on this planet. Maybe a rock is more intelligent than a human.
Maybe so.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to prove it to me, but maybe it is.
Because if a rock has a spirit, and if spirit is consciousness, then all a rock does is sit around and contemplate things outside
What
of
happens if you
itself.
break a rock in two?
Right. Then do the two rocks become two separate beings with two separate souls?
Right.
Or like it's just
Stay
yeah.
tuned for next
Or does
topic, next year's
another soul
topics.
come into the second rock, and
Do
which one is
rocks have
actually the
souls?
first one? Or the yeah.
Episode
Yeah.
episode 297 of
Right.
Autodidactica. Do
We'll
rocks have
probably
souls?
we'll probably get there. That's funny. But
Yeah,
no, like
I like to believe in reincarnation because I like to
yeah.
believe that I've done this once or twice.
Uh-huh.
And that's why whenever like I may not remember it, I don't have any memories of my past life.
Mm-hmm.
No distinct memories at least.
I might.
But I still tend to respond to trauma
Mm-hmm.
quite well and like learn from my mistakes quite
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
I feel like that may be a trait that is associated with having made the same mistake before.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, maybe you're here to learn what you needed to know in your previous incarnation.
Right.
And so you, every time you, like, I would think ideally every time that you go back to the spirit realm, you're a more enlightened spirit.
Right.
And every time you come back, you're a more enlightened person because of that. That it's one journey, like several different characters that you have played on the stage of the cosmos, but one
Yeah.
journey, one story, one song, universe.
Boy, the afterlife is a hard thing to wrap your head around.
Yeah, because again, we're just guessing.
Absolutely.
We don't know. And we have all these great ideas about what it might be and why it might be, but we don't know. This is why I always respect people who are trying. Like, one thing I think we should mention is NDEs, um, out of body experiences, whatever you want to call them, which again are largely anecdotal, but you do have people who have come back with information they shouldn't have had, like when they're revived, resuscitated. It's probably the better word. I don't know. I'm a
Yeah.
thesaurus. Uh, that's how I write. Like, how what are the 30 words I could use to say the exact same thing? Um, but yeah, like they come back, and some of them do have, and this is something that is profound to me because, like I mentioned, I like to take in both sides. Like I'll listen to anyone, whether they agree with my current opinion or not, because I don't want to be wrong. Um, so like I can equate this one like the way I did a freaking believers and atheists to bisexuals or agnostics. That's what it was. Atheists and agnostics to bisexuals and bi whatever else. Um, this one, it's like evolution and near death experiences. Because in evolution debates, where you have a creationist versus uh, someone who's a scientist, basically. Um, what I see all the time, because I will listen to the creationist, um, but you have the scientists saying, here is the fossil record. Here are the transitional phases that led from species A to species C. Here is species B that has elements of both, has aspects of both. And you can see how it evolves and then into species D from there. And the evolutionist will be like, or the creationist will say, well, you haven't shown me any evidence of, like, there should be evidence in the fossil record if evolution is true. And then
Right. They're
the
ignoring
guy,
the
yeah,
evidence.
and the scientist is like, I literally just showed you. Like, there's a Richard Dawkins video floating around on YouTube. He's a famous atheist. It's sad that that's what he's most famous for, because he's a brilliant person. Like, but he was doing a debate with a famous creationist, and that's one of the ones I saw where this happened, where she's just like, you haven't shown me anything. He's like, I just did show you everything. Here again is the this is an Archaeopteryx. That's, a feathered flying dinosaur. There's a dinosaur, there's a bird. What are you? It's there. And just didn't see it. So in that case, it's the scientists. Usually it's the scientists that are looking and listening to everything.
Right.
But when it comes to near death experiences, I'll watch the same kind of thing, the same kind of debate. And it's weirdly the scientists who are saying, you're not even showing me any evidence. So, like, where they do, like, they will have evidence that information was retrieved from the other side that could not have possibly been retrieved had there not been something beyond the body, like consciousness in some way surviving death, and being able to go into other rooms and see who was there and what they were saying and what they were wearing, who was able to watch the surgery from up above, um, and tell the doctors all the things. But they were dead. They should not have been able to hear. Their brain was not active. Um, there's no way they could do that. And they'll be able to, go down to the wing of the hospital where they put all the babies and see a shoe out on a ledge through the window. It's stuff they couldn't have done from the table where they were dead. But the scientists will always come back and say, well, they should be able to bring us back some sort of evidence that they were, they should have some information they didn't have before. It's like, well, they just told you. It's documented. The doctors were there. That it's like, we can prove that they died. We can prove that this happened. And some of them even set up, like you were telling me about something the other day,
Mm-hmm.
about the doctor who set something up specifically to
Right.
try to get.
He had like an iPad on like what was basically a like a tripod,
Yeah.
and he would point it to the ceiling up at like 8 feet in the air while he was operating on somebody who was going to be dead for a certain amount of time.
Right. They
And that
knew
was the
that going
idea.
in,
Right.
that this
And
person would die at some point, even if they could resuscitate them.
right, exactly. And so that's the whole experiment, is he was doing that on every person he operated on. And like 10% of them could recall details
Mm-hmm.
of images that were on the iPad that was faced up at the ceiling.
Yeah.
They had no previous coaching. They did not know that there was going to be an image of a duck driving a Ford F-150. But they were able to describe that to them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, science is going to continue to prove evidence of at least out of body experiences
Mm-hmm.
in the moments after death. And yeah, scientists, the large majority of them, refuse to accept that as an acceptable pursuit of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody
Right.
wants.
That's the problem. It goes against, because you can't really get into that argument without looking like you're arguing for some particular dogma, even if you're not.
Right.
And the
Right.
dogmas just do not mesh with science.
No, they do not.
Like,
But
there's nothing scientific about the Bible says. Like,
right.
whether it's correct or not, there is nothing that is not a scientific argument.
Right. Any scientist trying to prove what is it? Psychic.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know what the
psychic
ism is.
phenomenon,
Psychic
or
phenomenon.
phenomena.
Yeah. Phenomena.
Do 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 do.
Yeah.
Phenomena. Do,
Phenomena.
do,
Yeah.
do. Okay, I'm back.
Tequila. No. So yeah, any scientist trying to prove psychic phenomena. Any scientist trying to prove reincarnation.
Mhm.
Any scientist trying to prove anything that is metaphysical they're just going to get shot down by the overwhelming amount of, scientists that refuse to accept it,
Right, it's career
because
suicide.
it's career suicide.
And you're not going to get much funding. Just like that's why they had
No.
one guy in this office that was investigating reincarnation for the government for years.
And I wish there were more funding for all of this,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because I guess the main thing is there's nobody to gain. Like, nobody has anything to gain. There's no monetary
Right.
value
Right. It's not
in
going to make us
researching.
rich.
Right. And that's where scientists get all their funding,
Mm-hmm.
is from the prospect of monetary gain.
Yeah. True story. Yeah. And you have to convince, like, I almost think, with the religious right, but it's always there's so many contradictions and paradoxes with their values. But I think it's like this story, and I don't know if I've told this story on this series before, but like I think it was Michio Kaku when they were trying to get funding to put the LHS LHC, the Large Hadron Collider in Texas. Um, the congressman asked the scientist, "Will this enable us to find God?" And the scientist said, "No." It's gonna, but it's gonna do all these other amazing things for quantum physics. And and of course, we don't have that here in Texas. It's somewhere else because they shot it down. And the scientist is like, we should have said yes. Just say yes. Yes, it will help us find God. Give us the money. Because I would think you could get the religious right to fund research into, who you get a red state to fund research into near-death experiences. But it doesn't seem to work out that way because again, yeah, they say they're all about the Bible and they want to prove Noah's Ark was real, but they're making money off of that. That goes back into the religion. You just prove there's an afterlife.
Yeah, why do I have to buy a
How's that
Bible?
going to make anyone real or rich? Yeah.
Who gets rich off of the Bibles that I purchase?
Right. Especially if you find that the afterlife is non-dogmatic, that it's
Right.
is like every religion is equally correct and
Shouldn't my church
equally
just give me a
incorrect.
Bible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But you
some
can
do.
find
Like,
them in a library.
mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
can buy them.
yeah,
It's all funded by capitalism. Yeah.
right, right.
The Bible is the number one sold book in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and has been for decades,
Right. Decades, centuries.
centuries even. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So it's hard to get funding, is I guess the bottom line for,
Yeah.
and it's
For
hard to get,
proving afterlife.
yeah, and it's hard to get the respect of your peers because they often don't understand that you're not trying to prove, well, because sometimes they are. Like too many people who are like, if I can prove that the afterlife is real, that means Jesus walked on water, the virgin birth was real, Moses parted the Red
Right.
Sea or
Yeah,
Sea of
you got
Reeds.
you
Like,
got those weird scientific religious people.
right. But it's,
But I feel like
you
those are
have to
few and far
separate it from
between.
dogma.
Yeah.
Like, if you prove there's an afterlife, you haven't proved a single thing about religion.
No.
Like, you haven't proved a single thing about any dogma. You have proved there is an afterlife. We don't know if it conforms to the teachings of any given religion or not, but we can say that it is there if we prove it.
Right. Like, Johnny died and he was able to tell me about the duck driving the F-150.
Yeah.
What does that say about any religion?
Mm-hmm.
Your guess. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't say anything. It says that Johnny had an out of body experience whenever
Right.
I operated on his heart.
Right.
And stay tuned for our next experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, there's no experiment that could convince me one way or the other.
Right.
Because past that, how do you experiment further?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, Johnny, when you die in 5 minutes, I want you to go and try and reach out to my grandma.
Yeah.
Like, it required an incredible amount of coaching,
Hmm.
and none of that is scientific at all,
Right.
because scientific results have to be repeatable, and that is the biggest hindrance upon proving the afterlife.
Right. Right. Because it's very difficult to repeat your results in that
Because
scenario.
the same person is going to die over and over again
Yeah, and have the
in
same
order.
experiment experience because
Whereas the control is the person living,
hmm
and the experiment, the variable, is the person dying.
hmm
You can't just kill Jonathan over and over again to see how many times he actually contacts my grandma
right.
versus how
Right,
many times he doesn't.
exactly. Exactly.
However, Johnny and Samantha and Glenn and Matt and all these other people have had out of body experiences, but
mhm.
they're all different individuals.
Yeah.
There's no control. The only control that's available is, we're all human,
Hmm.
and that's the only control available. And so it's not very scientific. And so
Right.
thus there's no science that can accurately prove this.
Hmm.
It's going to be
True.
tough at the very least. There are common occurrences, but as far as scientific results, no scientist wants to put their name on that because
Right,
it's not very
because
scientific.
yeah, and they don't want to be ridiculed. Like if you're not taken seriously in the scientific community, how are you going to get funding for anything else? Like let
Right,
alone researching paranormal things.
right.
Um but I think science, the very spirit of science is to explore every possibility without bias.
Right,
Like don't try to prove there's an afterlife, try to discover what happens to our consciousness when we die. And
absolutely.
no true scientist should be opposed to those experiments because that's what science is.
But who's going to
Like,
pay him?
right, exactly.
Who's going to pay him?
Exactly.
The unfortunate truth of the matter is, who is going to pay them?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, basically, I don't know how to fund them. I
Hmm.
can't I can't donate my meager salary
Right,
to,
exactly.
exploring this. I'm just gonna have to
Mhm.
die and figure it out myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think we're like about 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah,
Yeah. But we should probably wrap this one up. Unless there's more,
absolutely.
because I mean we don't have to. Like if
That's
there's
everything I had.
yeah, I think that's everything I had too. I think, this is a topic we can revisit because there's so much to say. Like at
Yeah,
some
reincarnation could be its own topic.
exactly like we did it broad this time. Just is there an afterlife? But yeah, there's like reincarnation. There are so many aspects of it, like NDEs,
Atheism
reincarnation,
versus agnosticism.
ghosts, like yeah, all of that.
We
We
have
should
like
just
four topics in this
yeah,
one topic.
yeah, when we block out the next year, we should reference this episode and just we should take some notes on topics that popped out of just our conversations here. Because yeah, we could go deeper into any one aspect for a whole episode.
Yeah. So in short, I hope that the afterlife for me, Matt Paul, is uninhibited freedom.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I wish for when I exit my physical body. I
Hmm.
wish to visit any time, any place in the life that I've lived or the lives that I've lived previously,
Yeah,
and to learn from them, and then to explore the beyond.
right. And
That's just wishful thinking.
I mean, it is, but it could be true. Like it's what I hope for too. And but uh I'm comfortable with there not being an afterlife that is a continuation of our consciousness chronologically, like a disembodied self. Like I think there is, but if it's proven that there is not, I'm comfortable with it. And I think I mean, what makes that comforting to me is again the way I look at the universe as like all time and space is simultaneous. And Einstein too. Einstein thought this that like I think the story is, and someone probably knows this better than I do, but like one of his friends died, and his wife was just grieving really hard, and he was like, "There's no reason to be sad. My friend is just over that hill." And what he meant was the past never ceases to exist. The past and the future are just points of view. So this moment right here will is infinite. This it's eternal is a better way to say it. Every moment is eternal. So when we die, that's just the chronological experience of an end, but it's not really an end. Um, it's the end of a story, but that story never ceases to exist in space time. So, when we die, even if there isn't a spirit that moves on, the people who move on without us can know that we're just over that hill. We're still there. We just aren't traveling with them anymore. Um, so I don't need an afterlife, but I would love for there to be one, and I think there is one, and I would love for it to be an awfully big adventure, like Peter Pan. I have a Peter Pan uh hope for the afterlife, that it's just more
Same.
stuff to explore, like what you're talking about. Let's go see the other side of the universe. What's going on there?
Right.
That kind of stuff. I would love that. But yeah, I mean, those are my closing thoughts.
Absolutely. So this has been Autodidactica. One of these days, I'm going to be able to say that without just completely tripping over it.
Just practice Autodidactica.
Yeah. See, I'm going to have to say it like a Victorian maiden, like that.
You can do it.
Autodidactica.
See, there you go.
I see. I try to say
Word
it in my
said.
southern slang. I try to say Autodidactica.
Autodidactica. Yeah.
Autodidactica. But yeah, this has been Autodidactica with another
Oh,
riveting episode of hard topics to wrap your head
right.
around.
Right. That take us 2 hours to say, we should probably stop. Um, Next week we'll be back with what was that topic? It was
Uh,
I'm
no.
pulling it up. Next week, Christianity, Satanism, and ethics. Is
All
religion
right.
is religion more good or evil or bad? Is religion more good or bad? So yeah, we're on a tear. Um, but yeah,
No shame here.
none. Do you want to say all their stuff, or do you want me to say all their stuff?
You can say all the stuff.
Okay, I'll say all this stuff. So Matt, if you want to follow him, he's in a band, My Perfect End.
Correct.
All his stuff is all over the internet. Yeah, what are the places? The most prominent
Everywhere you can
places.
get anything.
Everywhere you can get
Spotify,
anything. I know.
YouTube, Apple Music, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got stuff. I've got books and short stories. Mommy Doesn't See Me. If you want to check it out, go to my website, glensladeclarkjr.com. There are links to all of my books and fiction, and my YouTube channel, and past episodes of Autodidactica. It is a hard word to say. I always want to call it Autodidactica when I
You're
say it
doing
really
very
fast.
well. You're
Why,
doing better than
thank
I
you.
am.
Why, thank you, kind sir. Um, but yeah, in the that's us. That's if you want to stalk us, that's where you can find us. Oh, we're covering my. Anything else to say?
Nope.
Okay, you're taking
That's it.
notes. Okay. All
See you
right.
in the afterlife.
Yeah. See you in the afterlife. Thanks for listening.